Good afternoon. It is May 9th, 2018. You're listening to a Little Column A, Little Column B, hosted by Will Lemanos and co-hosted by Zach Bishop. How you doing today, buddy?
What's up, Will? We're back.
Yeah, well, now we're on a little bit more of a routine schedule. I don't know if we could say we're back quite as much as we could the past couple times. Maybe we should get rid of the I'm back. Are we still doing phrasing? Maybe we should stop doing the I'm back.
Can I use it every once in a while on special occasions?
Sure. On holidays
Nice.
that
Yes.
don't involve Die Hard, you can use it.
Now you're raining on my parade.
Well, yeah, parades are overrated too, so don't enjoy those either. I'm making bold
Oh, there we go
statements.
for it, folks. We're starting the podcast off with Will poo-pooing parades and poo-pooing holidays.
Look, poo-pooing
We're at full form. We're back.
poo-pooing is like a real cool thing to do right now. I don't know if you've heard this new Kanye West song where he literally just says poop diddy scoop boop 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 boop. Like the entire last verse is just that. It's like a 2-minute long awesome instrumental that ends with him saying like you're not ready for this next verse, and then it's 30 seconds of him basically rhyming the word poop.
Huh. I have not heard this.
You have not heard this? It's called Lift Up. The
I've-
worst part about this is he's able to get away with this so easily because the whole song leading up to that moment is pretty good. And it's like you're assuming this is some sort of draft or pre sort of ritual or like like it's not finished. It feels like such an unfinished song. I really hope that there's an album version with an actual verse on it and that he's just saying, hey, look what I'm working on. I'm this famous that people are still going to pay and download this millions of times because I'm who I am, but I am hoping for a better result. So don't be so negative on the word poo-pooing anymore. It's now very popular with the kids.
Is it? I feel like Kanye's not so popular lately.
I think by being less likable, he's become more popular. So
Really?
I think more people know who he is now than they did previously. No, you don't think so? I think
even-
all of this trolling has put him on the spectrum of so many different other audiences rather than just a rap audience. I don't want to, generic.
Demographics, if you will.
There you go. Big words. Good
Yeah,
words.
I would agree with that, and I do think that this a lot has to do with that he has allegedly 2 albums coming out, and that's just how this works. It's just attention by any means necessary. So I always take all of this with a grain of salt.
He's mastered this. He's mastered this so much to the point where he doesn't even need to put out music anymore. He just needs to talk. I think that's the flaw in all of this, is that his true strength is music, followed by, if you want to talk about his fashion and all of that, but he's on a
But
crazy...
is it good if he just kind of looks like a crazy person? Or just like all of a sudden, I feel like I haven't heard from him a while, and then it's just like a tweet storm, and it's just all over the place, and it's like slavery wasn't that bad, and just some really... maybe not, yeah, kind of taboo kind of arguments.
We don't need to get into the politics about it, but I'll ask you this: do you think it's one of two things right now? Either this guy is so smart to the point where he's acting out on this on purpose, that this is a character, a persona that he's faking in order to benefit himself financially and in the public eye, which it is. I think it's working if he's doing that, or he truly is everything he's saying and just batshit crazy. But I think there's
he's kind of a little crazy.
I think there's a fair argument for both, though. There's clearly a gain out of all of this still. No?
What would you say is the gain?
He's on
Just
a larger
the tension that we're talking about it.
Yes, we're talking about it. The verse.
The all attention is good attention.
I think so. I think it still works. I think it works even better in 2018 than it would have in 2004 or whenever he came out. No, I don't. It's tough.
I just think you could. There's this. There's things that you can say, and just how far do you go with it, and just you're trying to get attention for your album, but you were just saying, well, he's good enough that he could just do it on the music alone. So why is he doing this? If he's so smart, you could just do almost the Beyonce of just, oh, it's Saturday night, I just dropped an album, go check it out. Like no fanfare, no nothing. It's like, I'm super famous, you all like my music, here it is for you, have some.
Do you think talking as crazy as he is right now, and I definitely agree with he's out there on a lot of these opinions. They don't seem to be that fact backed up or anything like that. They just seem to be whatever's on his mind is coming out. Like they weren't thought about at
Hmm.
all. Do you think what he's doing though of just speaking whatever comes to his mind is a skill or a talent in any way though? Like do you think anyone else could do what he's doing and get the same sort of reception and audience and attention of everyone? Because I don't think anyone else could just do
No,
that.
I think he's a talented artist. He's been kind of a little out there and crazy for a long time, and I think that there's definitely other people that can get away. Like Charles Barkley could probably get away with stuff like this. Maybe not quite to this level, just because he's a little more tied to traditional media. But I mean, that's kind of his whole shtick is that he kind of says crazy stuff.
I think he's just sticking to it at this point. But I do recommend the song, even with the lyrics not being so positive at the end. The lyrics, it's like a 20-second part of a 2.5 minute song. It's just at the end. So my opinion of it is it's an unfinished song, and I'm hoping for that because the instrumental of it is kind of really cool, soulful sample, a cool beat. It has everything but good words in it. I don't know if he's trying to say something with that. Like I don't know if that's a speech in itself by saying like, look, this is an awesome song without words. This song's so good that it doesn't even need words. I have no idea what
Yeah.
his direction is with it, but I just know he's got he's got this lifestyle that he's running with that I don't know if I'd trade places for, but I think it would be interesting to learn more about it, and at least to understand the
Okay.
true behind the scenes thing. And I'll ask you this: would you rather be American Pharaoh or would you rather be Kanye West?
Uh, I'd rather be Kanye West because he's a person.
He's a person. I
I
don't know.
like doing
This
person stuff.
horse is already a very successful horse, if not the most successful horse of all time. It has a pretty nice regiment daily right now. I saw this an article talking about how this horse, American Pharoah, the champion, the whatever triple crown, right? Whatever winner. I don't know horse racing enough, but I just found his daily routine and payment to be so ridiculous that we have to talk about it. So this horse has sex on average 3 times a day. For every horse it impregnates, it receives $200,000. That's an annual income of roughly around $30 million. For this is
Those
completely
numbers are just staggering.
these are
Just all
so
of the numbers are staggering.
these are so unrelated to what his actual career is as a actual racer, jockey, and trainer of like the competitive part of it. This is a side thing. This is his when I'm
Yeah, I
not in
think
the
he's done
gym.
racing.
you know
They know he's fast.
how crazy is that this is such a genetically dominant horse that it is collecting that much money off the possibility of its offspring being anywhere near it.
Yeah, yeah, the possibility, and I mean, I'm sure that it helps, but I have no idea if it's similar to humans, where part of it is genetics, and genetics definitely help, but a big part of it is the training and who trains it, and just wondering, is it worth the money?
I well, I can't imagine the horse's lifestyle. So the horse probably has the best lifestyle of any other horse, or maybe not. Maybe training is annoying, and it would just rather walk around the farm all day. I have no idea, but I imagine this
I
horse certainly has some perks in life that the generic regular horse does not.
I would agree.
But I feel like the cap for that. Like, what do you think the nicest thing a horse's day could go by? Like, what is the most luxury stuff you could give it? I feel like it would cap out a lot less than $30 million. I feel like $1 million and you'd reach the same lifestyle, more or less. And that
Well, see,
anything on top of that
I
feels so
always knew
excess.
from I always knew from watching the Kentucky Derby and watching the Belmont, some of the other the main horse races is that there's a lot of money in it, but I didn't realize this this much money like for a stud fee and how often this happens. This was definitely all new news to me. I knew there was a lot of money in horse racing, but wow, wow, like more like he's making more money than almost all NBA players.
I think the other like interesting thing with this whole concept is it's purely breed that puts you above and beyond everyone else. It has nothing to do with work ethic and training and rest and the process of all of that. It's you have to start this far ahead with this genetic advantage to be a dominant racehorse, because that's what these numbers tell me.
That's what it sure seems like.
It's like, yo, kid, you have no chance unless you were born from this king and queen genetic
and
advantage.
this is a lot different than other numbers where you see something and it's, oh, this baseball card is worth this much. Well, things are worth what people are willing to pay, and this is just that come to life. This is what we're willing to pay. Somebody's paying that money.
Do you think somebody? All right, what's the most you think somebody would pay for? I guess the most ideal athlete combo. Like I'm thinking, like LeBron James, Serena Williams. How much? How much is that offspring going for? Do you think
we're getting into some dangerous territory here?
I don't want to. I'm not. We are definitely getting in dangerous territory. My point is if a horse is going for 200,000, how much is a kid going for of two dominant athletes in a much more popular sport? Maybe not quite the finances, but I don't know.
I think you're gonna you'd have to ask maybe the Chinese. They kind of putting this delicately manufactured Yao Ming.
I'm not putting this kid for sale. I'm talking hypothetically still. All right, I don't have to. There's no underground kid dealing I'm doing out of my free time of the podcast here. This is purely hypothetical. This is not a business proposal by any means. It's saying, hey, I got this kid that nobody's heard about.
How many of these kids do you have?
I don't have any of these. We've dealt.
I'm concerned.
We should be concerned. This is the scariest route we've ever gone on the podcast. I just want to talk about how cool the lifestyle of American Pharaoh has, and we've gone south way too far. This is turn it around, turn it around, restart the music.
Pull the ripcord.
Well, anyways, you mentioned that American Pharaoh is more than likely going to be retired. I don't know what the future of that is. I don't even know what the career of a horse is. You're paying this much money in hope of a non-guaranteed athlete going forward, as well as what I'm assuming is a very short career. You're only in your prime for so long. It's just interesting to see the lifestyle of it. But there's another player who's also retired and apparently bad-mouthing some of our close fan bases. Ichiro is going to retire, and I think he's going to be taking a step into management or some sort of league ownership position. Ichiro's been around for a while. What do we got for age? Do you know how old is Ichiro?
He will be 45 next year for the start of the season if he were to play.
Damn, man, he must.
So
have
he's
started
44 now. So
yeah, that's a long career.
So he started playing in Japan when he was 18 in 1992. So basically, Ichiro's been playing baseball as long as you've been alive.
Was born in 91, but yep, basically, that's what that means. Continue.
Yeah, so pretty much, and so this news came out about last week, and there's been some kind of little shadiness on trying to figure out, because it sure seems like a retirement, but it hasn't been an official retirement. He can't play again this year. He's going to be in the front office, but they haven't ruled out that he could play next year. But I can't imagine he would get much better next year. And so it's just one of those, he played for the Mariners for a long time, incredible hitter, just great athlete, great baseball player. And so I was all ready to say all these really nice things about him. But then today it comes out that Tom Brady, pretty famous guy, texted him, reached out to him and said, hey, congratulations, on retiring, and was interested in what his stretching regimen was. They're in the same neighborhood age-wise. That seemed fair enough. But then Ichiro comes back and goes, who the F is Tom Brady? Is this a Eric Bledsoe who is Terry Rozier, where clearly you know who it is and he's trying to start some beef? Or do you think he legitimately doesn't know who Tom Brady is?
I don't think he knows who Tom Brady is. What do we know about Ichiro?
How is that possible?
What do we know? What do we really think about it? What do you know? You know nothing about this guy other than he's a foreign player who's had a lot of success and played for a really long time. He's played for a bunch of teams and has been, I I'm not a baseball expert by no means, but I would say he's been a beyond serviceable player and professional throughout his entire MLB career that I'm aware of. But that's all I know. I don't know anything about his social life. I don't know anything else. I feel like he's just completely dedicated to baseball. He doesn't have time. He probably
Okay,
thinks football.
I would say
He
I
probably
would
thinks
say the
football is
equivalent
soccer.
is Tom Brady is very. I would say Tom Brady is very attached and very focused on football, but he knew who Ichiro was.
Well, he might have been a fan of baseball at some point in his career. He might have even played baseball at some point in his life. I don't think I don't think Ichiro ever played football. I don't think Ichiro knew what football was in 1992.
Okay, that's fine. I get that football is very much an American sport, but Ichiro started playing baseball in America in 2001. Tom Brady has won 5 Super Bowls since then. It's got to be on the news. Like, how does it not come up? You know, in the clubhouse, in your friends. How does that never come up? It's not like Tom Brady's this obscure guy.
Do you think him having to be an international player and not from this country has any relation? I mean, are you aware of who won the Japanese baseball equivalent World Series this past year? No, because it's a different country. You don't pay
No, but I don't
attention.
live in Japan.
Had you?
I'd like to think if I lived in Japan for
You,
15 years, I'd be able to tell you, oh yeah, this guy's really good at baseball, or whatever their equivalent is.
Yeah, the podcast would be really different if we had you in Japan. It'd be a lot of different topics.
Probably.
All right, so what do you want to say? You don't want to give this guy a pass? This guy has he has no blemishes on his social life, as far as I'm aware. There's no social
It's
media
more the
drama.
emphatic way.
I,
Did he
I
really need? Did he need the cursing? That's what makes me think that there's like something else going on here. Why is he so angry about this? Why can't he just be like, hey, who's this guy?
maybe.
No, he had to drop an F-bomb in there. No, I don't know what's going on.
Well, if you don't know who Tom Brady is, that's I don't. I think you'd be surprised how many people don't know who Tom Brady is. You really think he's just that universal of a personality and persona and husband and they know his wife? You think everybody knows who he is? Or are you just
Yeah,
being a
I think
homer
so.
just a little too much here?
I think that it's uh pretty well agreed upon now that he's the greatest quarterback to ever play in the NFL. That puts you in with the greatest players to ever play in the NFL. He's married to a supermodel who's super famous internationally.
So, do you think they're actually like low key just really good friends, and this is some some media outlet just trying to make a story out of
That's
a
what I'm
guy?
not sure. That's what I want to know.
I think this is just a media. This is the media trying to make a story out of a guy who they never found any dirt on or made any story on that I'm aware of, saying, "Hey, he's retiring. What can we say about him other than good things? Let's find something else. Let's find something juicy. Let's find something new." To me, that's what this entire story is. I don't even. I bet it's not even true. I would question the validity of it almost immediately.
Okay. All right.
You know
I'm
what?
just getting roped into this for no
We got a
reason.
whole bunch of rumors here about a lot of these topics. About I don't know if any of these are true. We got a guy in San Antonio, a brewery, willing to offer Kawhi Leonard a lifetime free amount of beer as long as he re-signs with San Antonio.
And pizza.
There, is
Is
there?
this not the dream?
All right, this is what frustrates me. Kawhi is a successful person. He has no problem affording beer and pizza.
Oh, I agree, and that's one of my issues, and I always love when they do this because, I mean, I'm not sure if Kawhi's even allowed to have beer and pizza, so this is almost like a complete waste. But like for regular guys, like fans, like that's the dream to get free pizza and beer for life. That's how I know I've made it.
Yeah, the thing is, we can't afford to do that even by choice. He could eat there every day, 3 meals a day, and a nap like every now and then. Like he could afford this, and it wouldn't even hurt his finances in any way. I don't see the advantage of it.
Oh yeah.
It's purely a story to say like, hey, why won't he stay here? I would stay here if that was offered to me. Well, yeah, you're not Kawhi Leonard. You don't have his salary.
Oh, I get it, but I just feel like it's different. It's like you probably get a cool card. It's kind of like Danny Ainge has the Chipotle card, and he just goes to any Chipotle and gets free Chipotle whenever he wants, as much as he wants. I feel like it's just the power of it.
So you want the keys to the city. That's what you want.
I would like to have free beer and pizza for life.
I see. I'm not saying it's not free, but when you make the amount of money these athletes already make, is it not already basically free? It's not like
Oh no, I'm past the Kawhi part of this. Obviously, Kawhi doesn't care. I'm talking about you and me.
oh, so you got.
That's why it's always fun because they do this for these athletes and like they have oodles of money. If they wanted, yeah, they'd be fine. It doesn't affect them at all. But you and me, we don't have oodles of money.
Is it strange that we are motivated to make so much money to the point where people give us free stuff? That's the entire topic here, right? We're motivated
Yeah,
to make so much money to the point where we don't have to pay for anything anymore when we finally have the money to afford it.
yeah, it is kind of ironic. I agree.
Well, I get the publicity and advertising of it. That makes sense, but uh, they attack. This is the wrong demographic. I'll say he's in the wrong tax bracket altogether. This is not the guy you should be targeting free
Oh no,
beer.
yeah, this isn't going to affect this thing at all. This is a huge publicity thing. I completely get that, but I'm just more talking about. Would you agree to this offer?
If I'm Kawhi, no. If I'm me, absolutely. But I'm not going to be hanging out in San Antonio. At least that's not on my bucket list to hey, if you're ever in San Antonio, there's free beer and wine. I don't need that, or pizza or whatever. I don't. That's not gonna be my big appeal. I haven't been to San Antonio. I probably shouldn't hold anything like that against them, but my attraction to the destination is very little.
All right, I'm going to say that your view of this is skewed because your family owns a pizza restaurant. So basically, you've been living this dream the whole time where you get free pizza and free beer.
I didn't want to say it, but yes, my parents
I
also
think
paid
that's
two
what
hundred
it
thousand dollars to have me as an offspring, but
is.
part of that deal was I was guaranteed free beer and pizza for life, as well as other food. So
That
yes,
seems like a fair trade-off.
I am definitely one of the outliers who has a different biased opinion on this whole thing. But you know what? Speaking of restaurants right now, do you want to talk about the lady who mistakenly added a couple zeros to her tip bill here? $7,000. Did I read that correctly? And she put a $7,000 tip.
Yes.
What was the actual total of the bill? Do you know?
It was just a coffee place, so it really wasn't that much money. It was like had a coffee and like a Danish.
And how? All right, so you signed it, right? You had to fill out something. And you had to sign and agree to this amount. And I know how slow and annoying any credit card machine is with the tip. It's so annoying and asks so many questions that it's like, hey, is this the correct amount? Are you sure? Are you sure again? It asks you so many times that I almost have zero sympathy for this person. Should we?
Well, she was she was a little confused and she put her PIN number in instead of the tip.
Oh no.
So she tipped 7,686 on about a $24 meal. And of course, at the time, you know, didn't notice until she looked at her bank account and saw the mistake. So she's like, "Uh-oh, this isn't good." So she contacts the bank and says, "Hey, this is clearly a mistake. I didn't mean to charge that much." The bank says, "Hey, you know what? This isn't fraudulent. Yeah, go pound sand. You're out of luck." And so she went to the credit card thing. They basically said the same thing, like, "Hey, this isn't fraud. No one used your card. You used it. This is your mistake." So she continues and goes, "All right, well, maybe if I contact the owner, maybe even if I can't get all of my money back, there can be some sort of arrangement made because this is clearly a mistake. No one's tipping this much. This is crazy." So she contacts she contact before that she contacts the police, but the police say, "Well, there's nothing criminal that happened. It's not like the cafe owner held you at gunpoint and said, 'Give me $7,000.'"
There's clearly a
She goes to the
contractual
owner.
agreement in the tip process. It's like signing off everything.
So she goes to the owner, and the owner kind of he goes, "Oh, okay, yeah, no problem. Yeah, I'll get it back to you." Well, then the owner kind of ghosts her, doesn't respond. Comes come to find out, cafe owner filed for bankruptcy, shut the cafe down. owner's gone. Cafe is gone. She's just out of $7,000, almost $8,000 because of this.
Man, that's like 4 times with American Pharaoh. I'm never gonna get over that.
Yeah.
So I should feel bad for this woman. This seems like some pretty rotten luck.
Uh, I mean, I sure do. It just seems like it seems like one of those mistakes that I mean, she was at a cafe and it happens. How often have you been at the bar and you've been drinking all night and you get the tab and you fill it out real quick and you go and you know just be careful. Make sure that those decimal points are in the right spot. I guess because I would have thought for sure if you did this, you could contact your bank and you just say, all right, this was a restaurant. Clearly, I didn't mean to. It was supposed to be $70, not $7,000. Can we change this? And it would be everyone would say, okay, yeah, clearly a mistake, and that would be fine. But now I'm very nervous about signing these things.
Pay cash. Everyone will be happy if you pay
Yeah,
cash. The server will be much happier. I'm sure this server was very happy to have a $7,000 tip. That's certainly a unique one. I don't think you're going to be getting that so regularly. But you will be getting the 5, the 10, the 20, $50, whatever tip will be a regular thing. If you had a preference of having that through credit card or cash, you're always going to pick cash. Cash, I go home with it right now. This is mine. I got it. No extra steps. But
here's a
there's a whole bunch of extra steps to all this though, and it's a contract. It's essentially a contract. Every time you use your credit card, I have
here's
this
a
card. It's going to give you money. I signed off on it. This is the amount. It says, do you agree to this amount? You physically put in the amount. And you do the math to add the total amount. It just seems. I don't know. I have a hard time finding the sympathy out of all this. Do I agree the restaurant probably should have compensated her and given her something back? Honestly, if they just gave him $6,000 back, I would have been, yeah, that seems fair. It's a costly mistake. It shouldn't be $7,000 costly, but it is a mistake, and I do think this person was at fault.
That is an awfully expensive lesson to learn.
Yeah, yeah.
But to go off of this, just on a small tangent, have you been interacting more when you use a credit card where they at bars where they have or restaurants where they have the tablet and you fill out the information on the tablet?
Now the tablet, I will. If it was done on a tablet, I'll give her a pass because the tablet's not always easy. I've used different softwares or whatever ways they have me of filling these tips out. I like the ones where it's more of a recommended amount, like you have these options on percentages, rather than you type in the physical number. Because this kind of mistake can happen, and the tablets are finicky. I get that. This would have been the
No,
right approach to go, not to say, hey, this was a mistake. You should have said like I didn't understand how to do this. Because by saying like, hey, I this $7,000 tip is miscorrectly put in is one thing, but to say I didn't understand how to use the
no,
tablet or something like that.
I'm moving beyond the French woman. I'm more talking directly to you now. Have you seen it more and have you interacted with it more and just kind of what are your overall thoughts on it? Because I hadn't seen it too much, and more recently the local bar is using it, and I went to 2 breweries this weekend and they both used it, and I've got some thoughts on it.
The only thing that's a little bit frustrating with it is it's not faster. You would think, printing it out and having go to the printer and hit OK and all that, like that would be a longer process. This isn't that much faster. If the tablet was always at the bar and always at the screen and everyone had their own one, I could see some advantages to it. But there's only one. I'm sure on the server side there's some advantages to it, but on the consumer side, I don't see any of the advantages to it. What are the advantages on the consumer side?
I
I don't think they're.
I'm not really sure. I think it's nice that your card stays in view. It's always kind of it's something we've accepted as a culture in America that when you're at a restaurant or you're at a bar that they take the credit card and it goes away and then it comes back, but there is some kind of concern about there's nothing stopping them from writing down your number and they have a bunch of your information that would be very easy to go online and use. So this kind of keeps it in front of you. I'd say that's an advantage. I do agree. I'm not sure how much faster it is. Uh,
Well, that's my whole
but
frustration
they
with all the credit cards. The chip right now, perfect example. Hey, it's more secure. It's harder for people to hack your stuff or whatever. You go to CVS, there's more lines than ever before. Those chip readers, and even if they're scanners or use your phone to pay or whatever, this takes way longer than ever. This is I don't know how much safer it truly is. I hope it's really a hell of a lot safer because it takes a lot more time. It feels like a step backwards if you ask me.
I haven't found it takes more time. I'd say equal. I don't think it's faster, but I don't think it takes. It's taken a little while for them to figure it out. But because it used to be, I had to keep my card in like the whole transaction, but now it's pretty good about you stick it in, it reads it, boom, you pull it out.
Now, on these tablets that you've been using, are you ordering on them as well, or you're just doing payments on them?
No, this has just been payments, and one of the things that I notice is it gives you like three options. It's like here's 15%, here's 20%, here's 25%, or other. And I noticed right away that kind of priming that it does, where I would say 15% is kind of been the standard. That's what you like. That's what you tip. If you have better service, you can go higher than that. But sticking 15% on the one, like 20% at in the middle spot, I think most people by default are going to go to the middle number, regardless of what the numbers are. It's just like you feel comfortable right in the middle. That's just like human nature. But I talked to one of the bartenders and just said, hey, I'm just kind of noticing these tablets. Are you finding that you're getting tipped more, less, or the same with the tablets? And
No,
she
they're
said,
making less. They're
oh,
making less because it's not
she said
taxed.
for sure less because you know just the way it's working out, it's so easy to hit the button, boom, boom, but there's just something about when you're filling out, the paper sheet. I know I do it, and other friends. I don't know if you do it or not. Is like you end up rounding it up, and so she's missing out on that rounding up that happens. So it just like has that nice okay. Here's a $20 tab where when you're on the tablet, it's like, oh well, 1963. Okay, I just hit the button. That was easy. I don't want to have to try to do the math on this tablet really quick. It's like, how can I get out of this the fastest? Because the bartender's usually waiting right there to get the tablet back. Where when you have the slip of paper, you're kind of on your own. You got a little time to do the math and not feel like you're hurried. So I
Those
found that to be interesting.
those suggested tips, they don't include the tax as well. Those are based on your total, and your tax is separate. So generally, when you get the paper printout, it'll have your complete total at the bottom with the tax in, and most people will tip off of that.
I would have to do some more research because I was pretty sure that what I was seeing was the final price. But
If there
I
was
was just
if it was a suggested tip, it wouldn't be allowed to do like that because your total was this, and then you pay your tax fee and you tip off of the
oh
service.
really? Is
Yeah,
that a state rule or a federal rule?
I'm pretty sure that's how it was in Massachusetts. At least I know when they
Okay,
were making some of the steps there. I don't know about everywhere else, but to my knowledge,
that'll be
if
interesting. I'd have to look into that because that would also kind of.
that
I
that
mean,
that can
I was
change a
getting
couple dollars here or there, especially when you're.
yeah. I mean the two breweries I went to, all I got was I just got a beer, so the taxes aren't that much. But you're right, and especially on larger bills. All right, just something interesting as it's kind of popping up some technology.
Well, the new thing they got popping up everywhere over in San Diego, and I'm sure this has probably hit some areas by you right now, is certain tabs are having automatic gratuity added to them, like 3%. And it
Yeah,
says on the menu, this is in order to keep up with the the increase of minimum wage. We can't afford to pay our employees this increased wage, so we're adding this 3% as a default to cover for that. And it just seems so backwards to the point of I could see that frustrating a lot of people. It's frustrated, even my roommate could talk for hours about how this is frustrating. Why not adjust your prices to replicate, your payment of your employees? Why are we keeping all the prices, making it look like it's a cheaper establishment than it is, and then tacking on a 3% automatic gratuity regardless? No?
yeah, I'm definitely not a fan of that. I like to just
Are
know
are you seeing
when
that
you
more
go
by
in
you? Because
what
I'm
what
seeing
the
that everywhere out here now.
not so much, but I don't think that I'm going to places, especially busy bars, as much as you're going to in San Diego.
Yeah, no, that's an issue. I don't know what the future of that is going to be, but that just seems. It certainly is a resolution for the owner of the restaurant to say, hey, well, I got to pay these guys more. Okay, well, we'll just add 3% more. But that seems so deceiving when you have menu prices, and I don't try to. I don't try to eat out by price, but there is certain times of scheduling places I'm going to go based on price. Once I'm there, I'm going to get what I want, and I think I'm going to enjoy the most. Uh,
Hmm.
but if you're in, if this changes you from a Yelp review of a $1 sign to a $2 sign, that's that's a big jump right there. If you thought you were getting something else, so
I agree.
I kind of got a little bit of a problem with that. I don't know what that seems like something that's going to change. I don't know what the future of that holds. Uh, Speaking of change, and this is a much more positive change, we have some really exciting women in coaching right now getting involved in both basketball and MLB. The MLB actually being just a play-by-play announcer. What was the name?
Jenny
Jenny.
Kavner. I'm not sure how you
I think
pronounce
it's
her
I
last
think it's
name.
Kavner. I think it's Kavner. First woman in 22 years to do an MLB play-by-play.
Yep, first one on TV, and I thought, well, that's odd. I don't watch a ton of baseball, but I just would have assumed, the other sports are kind of bringing women in more and more. But then as I did some research, there were only three women before her to do play-by-play for TV baseball games, which I was just shocked by. There's a lot of baseball announcers, and a lot. Every team has a local TV, so you know 30 plus teams. I'm not sure exactly how many teams there are in baseball, but it's just like none of them in like the whole history. It's only been four. I was just really surprised. So this seems like a step in the right direction. I just saw a cool anecdote saying she practiced doing the play-by-play, watching her boyfriend play MLB The Show, which is just that just seems so modern. Where a lot of these announcers have been announcing for years, and if you mentioned a video game, they would just have no idea what that was, and here she is actively using it as a tool to improve, and just just really cool. They have Doris Burke in the NBA, which you and I aren't always a fan of, but as I've kind of thought about it, I'm not a fan of most announcers. It's just she being a female, her voice immediately, immediately that's Doris Burke. Where with some of the other guys, I don't immediately pick up on, oh, this is so and so,
Yeah, and
and
I
so I
also
think she's
don't
at a
like
little
them.
bit of a disadvantage there.
All right, so
Exactly.
I'm gonna tread water lightly here. Baseball has such an old ritual routine of way of things that they go. It just seems so old school on everything. But in a sport that is predominantly followed by male, I would say. I think that's fair to say. I don't know that for sure, but I would imagine their target audience is mostly male, right? Also, a
I
big
would agree.
assumption most males like females. A big assumption, not necessarily always true in the case, but you would think with a sport that has struggled with ratings, this would have been something that could have been done so much longer ago with so many other benefits outside of one guy's liking female announcers or other women liking other women announcers also benefiting. I just see a win-win in so many different ways here.
And not even so much on me as a guy. It's like, oh, I would like to see a female, doing the play-by-play, or I would like to hear her voice because that's more pleasing to me.
It's different
Just
though.
more of, just more of a, hey, I want to hear someone that knows what they're talking about when I'm watching the game and that teaches me something new. I don't need to listen, and that's one of the things that drives me crazy of them pointing out stuff that I already know. And I get it that I'm more into basketball or more into some of these sports than the average fan, and some of it is trying to help a novice understand the game, and I'm fine with that. But just I think as a lot of industries, it's been taking them a while to figure out. It's like women are good at this stuff, and you shouldn't just throw it aside like, oh, like they're like we've done it this way, we're not going to change. Like if you find someone that's good for the job, put them in there, have them do it, regardless of of their gender.
And it has it just seems like such a good move on so many different levels for me. I see no no problem with this at all. If anything, it's a long delayed thing that should have happened a while ago. And it's crazy that this has happened before, and that nobody in 22 years. This is a bad look for MLB if you ask me. Especially with the 22-year label. Like this isn't like the first time being
Yeah,
like, all right,
it's a
well,
long
this is
time.
a big change because this has never happened before. It's like, no, this has happened before, and it took 22 years for this to happen again. What happened 22 years ago? What happened to that person? Do we know who that is?
It was Susan Waldman called a Yankees game in 1996.
I I so even
And that's the other
that's
thing.
the biggest
I
market
don't know
in all.
exactly. I don't know how long Jenny is going to continue to do this, but I say she joins three other women. Susan Waldman did it once. Uh, Gail Gardner did it once, and Pam Boucher did 36 games for the Yankees. So you combine all of the women together, they haven't done even half of a year of baseball games in the entire history of baseball, or the TV of on TV. Like that's just baffling.
It's yeah, it's baseball has their ways, man. They're not a big fan of change. They have done everything
Yeah.
they can to preserve the legendary legacy, I guess, of all of baseball. They don't want change, but they're getting a little bit, and I think that's a good. I think this is a good change. Not all change is bad. Hopefully, they'll recognize that off of this. I want to talk about Becky Hammon, who's going to be interviewed by the Milwaukee Bucks. For those of you who don't know, she's been an assistant for the San Antonio Spurs for I don't know past couple of years. It's been some time. She hasn't been there.
Yeah, it's been a few years.
I want to say like 3 4 years, maybe 5 years. I have no idea of all of her history, but I do know Coach Popovich spoke very highly of her. They did have a lot of success in San Antonio with her as an assistant coach. I expect nothing less. I wish she was going to a different team, but if she's really as good as she is, and I think she is, she'll have no problem with these. It's a messy roster in Milwaukee, and that'll have no fault to her. Uh, but we'll see what she can do. I think it's an exciting opportunity. I hope she gets the gig. I know that's not official. I think it'll
Yeah,
be
no,
a
it's
great.
very much just an interview, but even just getting an interview, and yeah, she's been in San Antonio for a little while now, but there's definitely been assistant coaches that have been in the league longer. So this is by no means like a done deal, but just that she's getting the interview, I think is definitely a step in the right direction. Even if she doesn't get it, it's just that they're giving her an opportunity. She played basketball, so the whole even the argument from people of, oh well, you've never played, so you don't know what you're doing, which I think is a ridiculous argument. You can't use that against her. I just hope she gets put in a situation set up for success, and it's not she gets hired, whether it's with the Bucks or somewhere else, and it like you said, the Bucks roster is a little bit of struggle. Jason Kidd and Joe Prunty struggled this year, and have her come in struggle as well, and then have it be, oh well, women can't figure this out. Nope, this is never. We're not going to do this for 10 more years. Not even going to give it a chance. Where it's just, hey, some coaches work, some doesn't, and it doesn't necessarily have to do with what your gender is.
I don't think there's as many good basketball coaches available right now. So you're gonna have to start going down alternative routes. And I don't want to say like this was we didn't like A, B, and C. This was plan D or whatever F or however far down the list she was. I think she's a perfect candidate, definitely qualified in all this. But there's gonna have to be a new era of coaches. The old era, I feel like we've kind of lost some guys to retirement and some age, and some guys are in management right now. Uh, I mean, the Knicks hiring David Fizdale, that felt like the best coach available right now. Was there another option? There wasn't like a big veteran guy that was still available that somebody was willing to take another shot on. Um, so I'm excited for the new era of coaches in general. I hope Becky gets a job. She'll get something. If it's not Milwaukee, somebody's gonna take her. She's got just way too strong of a resume to go unemployed in the next couple of years in the NBA. She will get something within this year. So I fully expect, and I think it'll be a good look for Milwaukee too. Being a smaller market team, this will put them on the map just as much as Giannis has, if you ask me.
Yeah, I agree. It should be looked at not as a, ooh, this is something we'll have to deal with. It should be more, hey, look at something we'll be celebrated for, and here's an opportunity to move the NBA forward.
Yeah, nothing, nothing but positive things to say. So that'll be exciting. Hopefully that interview goes well. Interviews are tough. Voting is tough too, though. But you know, voting is tough. The coach of the year for the NBA is in right now, and this is the coaches' vote. So this is all the votes of the coaches throughout the league. Um, yeah, I don't, I'm treading lightly on talking about this too because it is kind of infuriating that again the two homers here didn't get one vote. No votes for Brad Stevens. What do you have the total of the votes that people received? You wanna read those off?
They don't have the totals. Dwayne Casey won, but there was also votes for Philadelphia's Brett Brown, Houston's Mike D'Antoni, Indiana's Nate McMillan, San Antonio's Greg Popovich, Utah's Quinn Snyder, Portland's Terry Stotts, and LA Clippers' Doc Rivers.
Man, Doc Rivers got a vote. You think he voted for himself? Are you allowed to do that? What happened there?
I don't think you're allowed to vote for yourself. You are only allowed one vote. So when they do the official, I'm going to call it the official Coach of the Year, which goes along with the MVP and Rookie of the Year that the media votes on, they do get, I believe, 3 votes for Coach of the Year. So and so it's weighted where first is obviously worth more than second's worth more than third. So it's a lot harder for someone to not get a vote, or if someone doesn't get a vote at all, it speaks a little more loudly than this one where you only got one vote.
So no votes for Stevens. Are you ready? I'm gonna give you your minute here. Are you? Do you have something written down? Are you prepared
I
to warn the rest of the
I was
NBA?
I was just shocked when this news came out this afternoon, because at first when I saw it, I thought it was the regular vote where it's like, how did no one vote for him for first, second, or third? I not a single one. How's this possible? Then I found out it was the coaches. I just don't get it, because I feel that coaches usually try to kind of hype up each other as much as possible, and I think that in general, what the Celtics went through has been as difficult as anything else that that any other coach has had to go through this year. This is even discounting all the things that Brad has done in the playoffs, because I'm assuming this, like the other ones, is a regular season award. All right, I'm fine with that. Uh, I don't think it's an accident that the C's pulled out some impressive comeback victories, and that's not just the players. And I'm sure you could say, well, it's Brad's fault that they got in the hole, but once you're in that hole, you have to make adjustments, and somebody made those adjustments, and I'm thinking that it was Brad that made them. I mean, LA had injuries, sure, but they didn't make the playoffs, so I don't know how Doc Rivers is in this arena. Uh, the rest, yeah, I can see arguments for. I'm fine with Dwayne Casey winning. He had the best team in the East. They improved from last year. Probably having the least amount of talent, I would say, from those upper teams. Comparing them to the Warriors and to Houston. But I don't see how he couldn't. He didn't even get a single vote.
So is he? Do you?
I mean,
Is
I
he
mean, there's
not?
literally a conversation right now saying, would you rather have Brad Stevens for the next 5 years or Giannis Antetokounmpo for the next 5 years?
Oh man,
And there's even
give you an
conversation about
applause on
if
that
there was a
pronunciation.
draft with what's that?
I have to give you an applause on that pronunciation. And that
Yeah,
is, you made it
yeah, I
through.
lost
You
it a
made it
little
through.
bit.
You lost faith halfway through on the end, though. You gotta
I
just
lost
finish
it a
it.
little bit at the end. Yeah, I got a little jumbled up. But then there's even the other conversation of if there was a draft tomorrow and all all the coaches and all the players were all in the mix, at what point are you not picking a player and you're picking Brad Stevens? No one's talking about doing that for Brett Brown. No one's talking about doing that for D'Antoni. I get that Brad the past couple of games has made some really good out of timeout plays that have worked, and he could write up the best play in the world, and sometimes it doesn't work out, and it's worked out so it looks even better. But not even one vote
All
just
right, so
seems
to
fishy.
To receive these votes and to be qualified for this, you have to overcome some sort of adversity and you have to have success. That's the only way you can win, right? So you have to have something go completely wrong, readjust everything, whatever offseason plan you had, you have to completely throw it out, scrap it, and focus on something else. I mean, Brad, from day one, Hayward goes down in the first quarter of the first play. That's our big free agent. That's the guy they just signed to bring in. They've been working on it all summer, trying to build some chemistry. And he goes down the first day in the first minute. And they still have a very successful year. Now, I don't want to, judge Dwayne Casey. It's easier to judge now because they're out of the playoffs. They just got swept by the Cavaliers. But I don't know what sort of adversity they struggled with this year. They just won. They had a whole bunch of success. And if it's entirely based off that, that's fine. But I do think the history of this award is based on overcoming something and impressing people with the result that nobody expected. Now, was it that unexpected for Toronto to win the East? Especially with what just happened to the Boston Celtics, with John Wall being hurt majority of the year in Washington, with LeBron and that team just flip-flopping their entire roster midway through, of being a really bad team and then adjusting their roster above and beyond to become super young at the tail end, and then having to rebuild all the chemistry. I don't really see the true adversity that Toronto really overcame. They just won, and that's fine. If you want to
They
reward
were
them for
healthy
winning,
most of the year.
yeah. If you want to reward them for being the healthier team, to winning the games in the East against bad teams, which is majority of the East, good for them. I just thought Brad Stevens playing with a rookie in Jason Tatum, getting those sort of numbers out of him, putting him in situations to succeed. I don't think he shoots his 3-point percentage as high with any other coach as he would with Brad. And that may be in some relation to the players he's playing with, but the rest of the roster is really young as well. Terry Rozier, I don't think he's nearly as good without Brad Stevens. I don't think Horford's ever had this diverse of a contribution. It's defense, it's offense, it's off the ball, it's everything. Horford was a fantastic player in Atlanta for a long time. All-star, big numbers, all of that. But I don't think he was quite as effective as he is these past couple of years. I think Brad has elevated that, and that has been beyond helpful to their success. I also want to give out shout-outs to Quinn Snyder. I thought Utah had a really solid year. They put together a bunch of new pieces. Again, Donovan Mitchell having a whole bunch of success. I think you got to give Snyder some credit there. I think you got to give him credit for getting
I like
Rubio.
Snyder because he looks like some sort of like a wild man. I feel like every game I saw him this last series, just as it progressed, his hair just got a little more askew, and just kind of that he just like especially like when he was really intense and his eyes got a little bigger. It's just like I wasn't sure what he was gonna do, and I was just a fan of seeing that progression every game. It was almost like in Mad Men as Don got into the night happy hour drinking, went into night drinking, and his hair wasn't like perfectly combed to the side. It started to get a little crazier and a little crazier. I like the comparison there.
So I would have voted for him, and I would have voted for Terry Stotts in Portland. Portland finished with the number 3 best record in the Western Conference, not the East, the West, and not just snuck into the playoffs. And they weren't just projected to make the playoffs, which I think they were a borderline team going in. They'd be in the run.
Agree.
They were a good team, but they made it to that top echelon. All right, they got the 3 seed. And again, it's easier to look at it now with them not having any success in the playoffs. But I think that credits the coach even more of they overachieved. Their record didn't resemble how good they actually were. Like that's how good of a regular season and how well coached of a regular season they had. So I got all sorts of problems with all of this. But I'll ask you this: do coaches not like Brad? Then is he? Do you think that there's no conglomerate?
I think they're jealous of his youthful good looks. That's the only thing that makes sense.
His youthful good looks. He does look like a child. It's I will say that. But I don't know. He'll find a way. I'm not worried. I don't think Brad cares about this at all. I think this is more offensive to all of the fans that support him than to him personally. He's not going to care about this. He doesn't even know what this story is. Somebody's going to ask him this tonight. And he's gonna say, "Why are you wasting my time with all of this?" Uh, I don't know if this is a waste of time.
I saw a joke on Twitter from one of the Boston Celtics pod guys, and he was joking. He was making like the situation where Brad comes into the locker room and Smart sees him, and Smart can tell he's all pissed off, and he's like, "Coach, what's up?" And he's just like, "Not even one vote, not even one vote." And Smart, "What are you talking about?" And he tosses him the newspaper with the results in it, and Smart's like, "Oh man, really? Not even one vote?" And Brad just like he's like, "Somebody give me my clipboard. Somebody give me my clipboard right now. Oh man, I am about to just coach the crap out of Brett Brown right now. All right, you know what? If I yell Dwayne Casey, that means we're running this play on the left because he just got swept." Just had this whole little thing, and then it was like after the game, it was like what Brad's gonna say is like, no, didn't really bother me. No, I'm not concerned about accolades or awards. I'm just trying to go out there. I'm just trying to win. Just trying to try to march towards a championship.
He'll get a vote. He'll get the vote going forward. If he doesn't have everyone's respect, he'll have it by the end of this year. I got to. All right,
Good.
predictions. You think he wins next year?
Well, I'm kind of a homer, so I always assume he's gonna win. But I just wonder if he'll be, if it'll be more difficult for him next year, hoping that everyone's healthy. If they play well, but it's kind of more of a, well, yeah, you're supposed to play well. You got Al Horford, Kyrie Irving, and Gordon Hayward, and then you got these young dudes that we saw last year were good. Like, yeah, you're supposed, like, we all expected you to win.
All right.
So
So
he kind of gets
do you
dinged on
expect
that.
him to get a vote next year?
Yes.
All right. So I won't ask if you think you're obviously going to think he's going to win because you're that much of a homer. You're so biased in your
Yeah.
homerness. All right. We had this conversation
Yeah.
just like last week about are you a basketball fan or are you a Celtics fan?
Yeah, you were talking some crazy nonsense.
Oh, I'm not
I
talking
forgot what it
craziness.
was.
We got into this whole Kobe conversation. You're so anti-Laker,
Oh, yeah, that's right.
and I was trying to tell you to watch his little short documentary that we talked about on the podcast that it won some big award and all this stuff. And I watched it. It's actually really good. Anybody who loves basketball will appreciate this 5 minute narrated mini.
It was only 5 minutes.
It's 5 minutes, dude. That you didn't even watch it. That's what
You
I
won an
said.
Oscar for
It's a
5 minutes
short.
worth
It
of
was a
work.
short. It's just a short. It's not a.
Well, that's awfully short.
No, that's all it is. It's not trying to be anything more. I think everything else in the category was the same length. All right, it was all in that same ballpark. It's not. I'm not
Did
even
you watch
asking
any
for.
of those?
No, I didn't watch those. Those weren't by Kobe Bryant, and they didn't win. All right, I'm sticking to winners.
Oh, yeah. I wonder how he won.
He won. Watch it. Watch it. Just go watch it. It's on YouTube. You can watch it. What is it? It's like more than a game or something like that. I'll post it with the the podcast. You can check it out on the website lcalcb.wordpress.com. Check it out over there. You can watch it. It's all I'm asking. I'm trying to get Zach to watch this, and he has zero interest at all. He's so much of a Celtics fan that he will not support anything that Kobe Bryant does. This is not
Nope.
even a
I'm
Laker
not watching
thing.
I'm not watching Detail on ESPN either.
Yeah, the detail thing I can. It's not reinventing the wheel here. It's just another opinion. If you care about Kobe's opinion, which clearly you don't, but maybe a lot of other people do, and that's why they thought it was a good idea. I've watched a couple of them. They're all right, but it's just breaking down film. So to the average person, to the average person, even current player, film is boring. There's no interest in it. You have to truly, really appreciate basketball and want to break down the X's and O's. There's no background music. It's just Kobe narrating, going back and forth between film. It's just as boring as every coach's meeting you've ever had if you had to watch film in high school. It's just done by Kobe instead. So I that one I won't sell too much on, but the other one won an award. I do recommend you watch it, and I do recommend that you suddenly become a basketball fan and not a Celtics fan. You gotta get out of this. You're in a box right now. You gotta get out.
Oh, don't be coming after my basketball fanness. I've played basketball 4 times this week. All right, I got a love for the game. I don't want to have to deal with Kobe. Now, you also recommended another. This was just an Oscar nominee. If you had to pick two, would you want me to watch Molly's game or would you want me to watch Kobe talk about stuff for a little bit?
Oh, well, just based on this conversation completely, the Kobe thing, because I just want you to become a basketball fan and not just a Celtics fan. And I think this documentary in 5 minutes will do that. It will make you appreciate basketball, and either it'll tell you if you hate the video, you're not a basketball fan. That's what I'll say. I'll say that right now. I feel confident saying that.
How many shots does Kobe take in this 5 minutes?
I think he got at least 25 off. I don't know, something near his average.
I cannot believe that you're so on board with this and you are giving Russell Westbrook such a hard time and there's such a similar thread here.
Yeah, but Kobe won, and Kobe made the plays he had to
Kobe
make.
had Shaq.
Not always. He had Powell and the other ones.
Steven Adams isn't Shaq, man. I love the guy. He's a bad man, but he's not Shaq.
Do you think Westbrook would change his style of play if he had Shaq on the roster? Because I don't think he would. I think he played with great players.
Yep.
I think he played with James Harden, who's probably going to win the MVP, and I think he played with Kevin Durant, who did win an MVP, and he didn't share the ball with them.
He's an MVP. He doesn't have to share the ball. And this is why Kobe and Shaq didn't get along, because Kobe was like, I want this to be my team. The same way Westbrook will be the same way.
They still won. They might not have liked each other. They might have had a completely lack of chemistry.
They had
But they won.
Phil Jackson too.
Well, I don't know. I think we can question the character of Phil Jackson based on his New York Knicks stance. All right.
Get Russell Westbrook, get Brad Stevens together. We'll get a championship, guaranteed.
I'm all with you that the Kobe certainly had some advantages of playing with Shaquille O'Neal and then being coached by one of the most winningest, if not the most winningest coach of all time in Phil Jackson. But I don't know. You know what? Get Westbrook a coach, and then I won't be as hard on him. If you get him a coach, and if he can actually listen to somebody and play basketball and not be super triple double numbers based, maybe he'll have a chance at actually winning something beyond just an award. Winning a playoff game, a playoff round, getting to the second round, getting into the conference finals, maybe even winning a finals game. But he just seems so far off of any of that.
See, once again, Russell Westbrook just wins awards, but Kobe, now you're all excited because he won an Oscar. See, it's a double standard with you.
No, it's not that. Kobe won championships. That's why I have him in an echelon. If Westbrook put out something and won an award, I wouldn't be nearly as excited about it because what does that guy know? What's his resume? It's not Kobe Bryant's resume, and there's no way you can even compare that. Westbrook couldn't win that award.
I'm not going to watch it. I'm not going to watch it.
Listeners, if you still have the time to spare 5 minutes and you're a basketball fan, I do recommend that you watch it.
I don't have the time. I'm too busy.
That's not even true. That's not even kind of true. All right, we're going to wrap things up here. We got about a couple minutes left here. We can quickly give a follow-up to Arrested Development. I have watched some of the episodes. I'm a big fan. Not a whole lot new discovered in it, just a new arrangement, which is all it is in the remix. But I kind of like it more. I think I like it more. But it's a little biased because you know what's going to happen. So it's kind of hard to say I like it more when it's like, well, there's no surprises. Of course you liked it. You liked it the first time. You're just liking it the second time.
So a little background, if anybody has missed this. Arrested Development last week came out with their season 4, same filming of it, same stories, but they recut it because when it came out, they kind of did more of a follow each character because there's not a ton of character interaction as much as there was in season 1 through 3, just because all these actors are much more famous and their scheduling is just more difficult. So yeah, they recut it and kind of made it a little more quick cut. They try to make it a little closer to what more chronologically in order. I agree. I think I liked it more than the original, but is there any sort of concern that you have that they kind of just did this where clearly Mitch Hurwitz wasn't, the creator, didn't love what came out, so he just kind of redid it? Does it almost kind of seem like cheating a little bit? Like, I'm just gonna chop this back up and here's this again.
Look, I'm gonna round out the entire podcast by saying this. Kanye West put out an album last year, The Life of Pablo. He released like 6 other versions after he released that one, and now that there's a final one, it took like 4 months later for him to remaster a lot of the songs on there, and they do generally sound a lot different and better. They're much cleaner and crisper. I have no problem with people working on their art over and over again to get it to the the level that they'll be happy with. How do you know when something's done? It's just whenever you're happy.
Usually it's when it's published. I'm not sure I've ever seen something like this before, and just wondering is this something that happens in the future? How do you explain to someone in 10 years when they're watching Arrested Development that you watch season 4 and then season 4 comes back on, and how does that exactly work? Or does it let you know, say, hey, do you want to watch the regular season 4 or the Fateful Consequences season 4? I'm just not sure exactly how that works.
I mean, it works like every other Star Wars movie, in my opinion. All right, you can watch it whatever order you want to watch it in. it's still Arrested Development.
All right, works for me. I'm a fan. And the new news on that is season 5 is coming out on the 29th of May. So, like we said last pod, it was going to be sooner than we expected. That's definitely sooner than I expected. So I'm excited
sooner
for that.
But thank you as always for listening. You're listening to Little Column A, Little Column B, hosted by Will Alimanos, co-hosted by Zach Bishop. Make sure you check out Zach on his Twitter, which is
WickedZman24.
And check out the website lcalcb.wordpress.com. We will be back next week with hopefully some better topics and some better hosts. And maybe not. Maybe a guest. We'll see what we can do. We'll be back.